What sort of money are people having to spend on, say, a 2 or 3 bedroom house with a backyard?
So in that really kind of popular northern beaches of Wollongong type market, we're looking at really quite high prices now in the best areas. So that Austinmere market, there's really no freestanding homes of quality that are selling under $2 million. Thirroul Bulli, you can still buy in the high ones, but it's a stretch. There's actually less stock than you would think. And I had a conversation a few days ago with someone who had a budget of 1.8, and when they described the home to me, I said, "Look, you're probably not going to be buying north of Woonona, which is another
Mm.
suburb, 2 suburbs south of Thirroul." Obviously, prices dip fairly drastically as you head further south from Sydney. There's a little node around the University of Wollongong, Kirraville, which is very tightly held. So kind of prices fall down towards the million mark. They dip up again 10 or 20% around the university, and then they fall fairly rapidly as you head south because it's
Mm.
some very much more working class suburbs. The southern half of the Illawarra historically is where the industrial estates are. It's where the steelworks is. So the feel is not the same, but it's very practical for families where dad might be a tradesman or where there's people working locally as opposed to having to commute to Sydney. So that southern half of the Illawarra, you can still pick up a home in the sevens, eights, and nines. So well under $1 million if that's what you're chasing.
And what
But yeah,
types of homes are they there? Because that's sort of, there's a lot more housing developments and new estates down there, right? Is that
yeah.
what you're
So
talking about?
in the southwest of Dapto, which is kind of 20 minutes south from Wollongong CBD, there are new estates coming in, but they're not actually cheap because the developers are paying so much to develop that land that
Mm.
you're talking about 400 and 500K for a block of land. And so the new homes in there are not the cheapest homes in the Illawarra. The original homes that are closer to the beach, to me, represent better value anyway because they're closer to the train line, they're closer to the water. But they are older housing stock. So in the southern suburbs around the lake, we're talking about, say, 700,000 will get you a simple 3 bedroom fibro dwelling on a 550 square metre block of land. And if you have 8 or 900, you can be choosing from brick. You can get an extra couple of 100 square metres, have a bit more of a yard.
That's really interesting. So you
Mm.
basically you're saying at the moment people are paying a premium for brand new in a location, well, which we would put two red crosses against. One is that location is further away from the train station and further away from the beach, and the other red cross would be with less scarcity because there's obviously been more supply and the properties are sort of more similar to each other versus buying something that's older, daggier, clearly obviously needs some future work done to it, but on a big block of land closer to transport and closer to the coast. And
Yep.
long term, I would hazard there'll be a shift towards those properties actually being redeveloped and actually worth a lot more in the future. It will be my guess. Would that be fair?
Yeah, that's my opinion. And look, people who want the new housing stock for a fixed budget will chase the shinier dwellings. But personally, I'm a fan of ugly homes that have potential,
Mm.
and fixer uppers are great and they can offer great value. So I certainly encourage people who have a bit of a flexible mindset to consider an older home if it represents really great value.
Mm.
It's
Interesting.
it's a good point actually that you make. There's a difference between what first home buyers are buying and what you recommend that they buy. And I hear in that little snippet there, you're very much perhaps pointing people more to a better buying opportunity and better for their future if they do have an open mind around the older style house in a better location.
Look, people ask for an opinion, so I'm happy to give it. Obviously, people have to believe and make a decision for themselves. So as buyers agents, we're not forcing anyone to choose a particular location or a particular housing type. We're working to a brief, so we're always asking what are they looking for, and what is it that they're chasing. But when people say, Matt, what do you think good value looks like? I'll show them.